Assalamu alaikum. Some quantities in physics specified by one number called magnitude. For example, if I said the mass of this ball is 5 grams, it's enough. So the mass is a physical quantity identified by one number. When I say the distance between the 2 points is 10 centimeters, it's enough. So the distance is specified by one number. These quantities are called scalar quantities. But other quantities, we need direction. So some other quantities in physics identified completely by two things: magnitude, number, of course with unit, and the direction. These quantities like displacement. When I say I throw this marble 5 centimeters, you have to ask me where. You throw it up, down, right, left, so we need direction. That quantities in physics identified by both magnitude and directions are called vector quantity. So what is the definition of a scalar quantity, and a vector quantity? A scalar quantity is a quantity that has only magnitude, one number, of course with unit. A vector quantity is a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. For example of a scalar quantity: length, area, volume, speed, mass, density, temperature. All of that are called scalar quantities, just defined by one number called magnitude. Example of vector quantities like displacement, velocity, acceleration, force, weight also, that are called vector quantities. How can we represent the vector? Representing the vector by arrow, like this. So the vector represented by arrow, like this. The length of the arrow, the length, give us the magnitude of the vector. And the direction here of the arrow give us the direction of the vector. Any arrow has a starting point, or any vector has tail and head. The distance from the tail to head, the length of the arrow, give us the magnitude of the vector, and that is the direction of the vector. Resultant vectors. A resultant vector is a vector that is equal to the sum of two or more vectors. Always draw resultant from tail of first arrow to tip of last. From tail to the first. For example, if we have a vector A plus vector B, they have the same direction. So the resultant is a vector takes the same direction of A and B. Another example, if that A and B are two vectors, they are perpendicular. So how can we get the resultant of two vectors like A and B if they don't have the same direction, if they are perpendicular? So we draw first the vector A. Here, this is a vector A. And then, now this is the vector B. So this is a vector A and this is a vector B. What is the resultant? What is the resultant? It is a vector starting from, here, the tip of the first to the tail of the last. So this is called the resultant vector. Resultant is the sum or combined addition of two vectors. If we have vectors in the same direction, for example, 6 Newton to the right, 4 Newton to the right, the sum of that two vectors is 10 Newton to the right. If the vector they have opposite direction, we subtract. For example, this is 6 to right and 10 to left, so the answer is 10 minus 6, which is 4. So the resultant is 4 Newton to the left. Look at this example. Calculate the resultant force on the object and give its direction. This is a rocket, moves to the right 4 Newton, and we have here a force acted on the rocket down 3 Newton. We need to get the resultant. What is the resultant? And we need to get the direction. We need here ruler, protractor. First, we say what is the scale? The scale drawing is 1 centimeter represents 1 Newton. Then we draw ray of length 4 centimeter. We draw this ray of length exactly 4 centimeter. So this ray represented the force 4 Newton. And then we use the protractor to measure right angle. We put the protractor here. We draw a ray of length 3 centimeter. So we put the ruler and we take the length 3 centimeter. We move this away and this is the ruler. So this is the ray which represented the vector 3 Newton down. Then we join the tail of the first with the head of the last. So this is the resultant vector. So that red one is the resultant. Now we use the ruler to get the length of this resultant vector. Now the length of resultant vector by using the ruler, the length is 5 centimeter. So 5 centimeter, we say each 1 centimeter represents 1 Newton. So the resultant is 5 Newton. What about the direction? To get the direction, we measure this angle. So we use the protractor to measure that angle. We measure the angle by using the protractor in this way. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 35, 36. So the angle theta is 36 degrees. What do we say here? The resultant vector, the resultant vector is 5 Newton in direction 36 degrees below the horizontal.